How to fill a gap or build up missing pot metal with Super Alloy 1 Rod and Flux.
Super Alloy 1 product, and I'm going to be using a propane torch with a 5-foot hose.
This is Tawny's very first attempt at filling in pot metal. First, she adds the flux in a liberal fashion. Notice we have a water-soaked 2x4 as a backing plate. Of course, this helps the soft solder to stay in place without falling to the floor. Tawny is now heating the pot metal from side to side, trying not to heat the flux directly. She is keeping the torch in a vertical position, as this makes the flame mushroom out, rather than deflect off the part if held at an angle. After heating adjacent to the area in need of the Super Alloy 1 filler rod, Tawny will start to work closer to the gap. The headlight ring is off an old classic and is pretty darn thick pot metal. Most pot metal will not need this much preheat. Preheating will also depend on how you set your torch. If you have oxygen in the mix, be sure to turn the oxygen down, as pot metal can melt quickly when separate oxygen bottles are used. In this repair, we're using straight propane and a push-button start torch. Tawny is about to tin the rod on the surface to test the temperature. Tinning is lightly swiping the rod back and forth while touching the heated metal to create a thin layer of filler rod. If the rod does not come off when swiped, continue to preheat and try tinning again. One of the fantastic attributes to the flux is it tells you about when to add your rod. This is why we heat around the flux and not directly on the flux. Sure, you could turn the flux brown if heated directly, but the rod will not give you the bond to the pot metal unless the pot metal is at the correct temperature. And here we go, she's going to tin, and now it's tinning. Perfect. At this point, you're going to start building out towards the edge of the pot metal. This is one of the rare times you will heat the Super Alloy 1 directly. You will need to break or melt off small pieces with the flame to build up toward the edge. You can now see why we needed a backing plate. If we were to use a metal backing plate, the rod would adhere directly to the plate, and that's not needed in this repair. Tawny dipped the rod into the flux to add more flux to bring the solder together and bond the small pieces together. Remember, this is her second time ever using a torch. We are working in a well-ventilated area, and she is cautious not to inhale the fumes from the rod or the flux. Tawny is repairing pot metal right in front of us all. Call up your local welder and ask them if pot metal can be repaired. They'll tell you to throw it away, as their local welding supply says it can't be done. And speaking of done, Tawny is finished with her very first attempt at pot metal. We will let the part air cool, then simply remove the flux with water and a wire brush. Make sure not to breathe in any dust particles from sanding or grinding. Perfect color match, but that doesn't really matter as pot metal parts are usually painted, chromed, or powder coated. And now we'll put the edge in place. And that's it. That's the Super Alloy 1 Rod and Flux, melted half the temperature pot metal melts. Now, what does the back side look like? Our backing plate worked great, and our beginner looks like an expert. Tawny, thank you for taking the time and patience, and we will all look for you in more Muggy Weld videos to come. That's muggyweld.com.